2012, a living wage versus minimum wage. Again, last night I was watching The National, and there was a segment about a woman in a city called Hamilton in Ontario. That's in Canada. And she put forth a proposal to the local government to implement a living wage instead of a minimum wage. Minimum wage currently in Canada, I believe, is $10 an hour. And she's suggesting this to be increased to $15 an hour to reflect how much it costs to live. This woman, they were showing her juggling her bills. That's something we do here a lot too in my household. And we make together, my husband and I, substantially more than that. And we're juggling our bills. So anyway, she was showing juggling her bills, trying to decide, okay, who do I pay what? And it always came down to, she was saying, well, who's going to disconnect me? Is it the phone I have to pay because they're going to disconnect me? Is it, the consumer's gas I have to pay because they're going to cut off my heat? Am I going to get booted out of my apartment because I can't afford, I'm behind in my rent? And this is a horrible way to live. The stress on oneself it's just a horrible way to live. It's difficult to cope, with your daily life. And at $10 an hour, one of the points of the story that was interesting was if you base it on, a full-time job. For example, let's say someone works at Tim Hortons, which is a very successful coffee shop chain in Canada. So they employ a lot of people, and they pay minimum wage. There's no tips. That's all they get. And the sad fact was, a lot of them don't get 40 hours. Okay, they're not given that. And I think the reason for this is a practice not just done by Tim Hortons, but by many companies. The reason for this is so that they're not a full-time employee, which they'd be at 40 hours, and they don't have to provide benefits, sick days, vacation days, etc. So many people don't even get that. And when you look at the cost of living, so the cost of rent, or you could have a mortgage, cost of bills, cost of sustaining yourself with food and drink, not even saying if you have kids. If you increase that to $15 an hour, the result is huge for those people. So the story was saying they were calling people who were making a minimum wage the working poor. Absolutely, they are. They are the working poor. I've been there. We kind of feel like that too sometimes. I don't have any money left over, anything extra. Just kind of always, and we're never really up to date. I'm not suggesting that I am poor. I have everything I need. Although my house looks a little disastrous up there on the ceiling, it's because we're renovating and we're moving very slow with it, but that's okay. So many of these people and many of my friends, they're working really hard, and one very frightening fact is that when they start getting older and looking to retire, it's like, well, it's not even an option. They don't have any savings. Why don't they have any savings? A lot of people who believe in the capitalist system would say, well, it's their own fault. It's their own fault. They didn't save. It's their own fault. They made stupid decisions when they were younger. I would say that that's not true. A lot of these people perhaps had a little trip along the way. They fell along the way. They made a mistake along the way, but they picked themselves up and dusted themselves off and kept going and worked very hard, very honestly, paid taxes, and at the end of the day and at the end of decades of work, they don't have any savings because they weren't able to save. There was not enough money to practically put aside to save because they were keeping up with the cost of living. So practically speaking, if there is even a couple, so two people working 30 hours a week, let's say. Again, it's that $10 an hour. You don't even take in consideration of your children. It's just barely enough to pay some bills and your rent and feed and clothe yourself and perhaps go to the dentist or buy a pair of glasses. If these people get sick, they don't have any, often, not always, but they don't have a medical plan that's going to pay them maybe a short-term disability. No backup plan, there's no protection. So this is why people end up sometimes on the street. So this woman proposed a living wage, which I think is a step in the right direction. A better step would be a program called BIG, Basic Income Grant, which would give everyone the same basic income each year so that they can live a dignified life, because they are life here on this planet just like you are. So they're able to have a home, pay the bills, some quality of life, so they're not constantly just stressed and running in circles and living in such constant fear of not enough, fear for their safety, of themselves and their family and their children. If you put children in that picture, it's just, it's just crazy. Working for $10 an hour, even if it's 40 hours a week, two of you, just barely you can eke by. So there's no quality of life there. So my point would be, I like the term a living wage versus a minimum wage, and I think it's a good first step, something to look into. Hamilton and some other cities are starting to look into this, so hopefully it will grow, the living wage, as a first step toward an effective, practical solution, which would be an equal money system. Why should some people have more than others? We're alive here. We're physical. All the judgments, because that's what it is when you start saying this person deserves more because of this reason, this person deserves less because of this reason. It's all stuff from the mind. So please investigate equalmoney.org for a effective, lasting solution to the working poor. Let's not have a working poor. It's horrible. And a living wage is an effective first start.